You think you're a minimalist, you're really just cheap. Hello everyone, I'm Julie and I am a maximalist. I don't think a minimalist would be like caught dead in this outfit, okay? I've got leopard underneath polka dots. For all of you minimalists out there, what do you think of pattern on pattern? In today's video, we are talking about minimalism versus maximalism. We'll be diving into the key characteristics of each and how these two very different design styles may affect your mood and how you present yourself to the world. You know minimalism when you see it. It's all about clean lines, calming spaces, a very zen-like environment. Minimalism originated in the early 20th century, drawing inspiration from movements such as Gestalt, Bauhaus, and traditional Japanese design, all of which value simplicity, functionality, and the beauty of minimal forms. Minimalism countered the opulence of abstract expressionism and consumer culture by promoting streamlined interiors, neutral color palettes, and open spaces. This design style prioritized only the most essential elements, fostering environments characterized by tranquility and a deliberate reduction of unnecessary clutter. On the flip side, the maximalist aesthetic is all about more is more. Maximalists love color, they love pattern, they're not afraid to make a very bold statement. The maximalist aesthetic has seen a resurgence influenced by its historical roots in late 19th century opulence and a 1980s revival reacting against minimalist trends. It celebrates bold combinations of colors, patterns, and textures, often layering luxurious materials like velvet and silk to create environments of grandeur and indulgence. Embracing diverse art movements and personal collections, maximalism encourages the display of art, collectibles, and decorative pieces reflecting individuality and creativity. This style, popularized through influential figures and the media, blends vintage charm with modern elements to create visually dynamic spaces that invite personal expression and cultural richness. Now that we have a really quick understanding on each of these design styles and their historical backgrounds, let's get to figuring out which is the best for you. Growing up thrift shopping, I always knew I was a maximalist. Like, I love to play with color, I love to play with patterns. I kind of layered on different textiles on my parents' bed just to see what would vibe the best. When I decided to go to design school, I was studying interior design, and that's when I landed on Kelly Wearstler. I just loved her maximalist aesthetic. I loved her choice of finishes, colors, materials, and I knew I wanted to work for her. I was very fortunate to have Kelly as a boss in my early career, and it really informed my decisions down the line. Now, after I graduated the Art Institute, I went to work for a hotel firm that designed minimalist interiors for 5-star hotel resorts. I mean, that's kind of all I did, design these really minimal interiors. The focus was on really streamlined interior architecture, not a whole lot of embellishments or pattern. I then went on to open my own design company, and I just knew that maximalist girl in me was just kind of dying to get out, which is where we are today. I pride myself on being an interior boutique studio firm that can design both minimalist and maximalist interiors based on my clients' preferences. So can you be a maximalist who loves minimalist interiors? Absolutely. Can you be a minimalist who loves maximalist design? Of course you can. You don't have to choose between the two, but here are the benefits of deciding which interior style is best for your space based on your own moods and needs. What type of personality favors minimalist design? Minimalist environments are perfect for those seeking a very calming interior environment. Maybe you're someone who's often anxious and overstimulated. You might just want to come home to a very calming environment, a sanctuary that kind of just envelops you and wraps you in a big, warm, cozy hug. Because you get overstimulated quite easily, you just want an environment that's devoid of color, devoid of pattern. Anything that makes your mind race or causes unnecessary excitement is something that you definitely want to steer clear of. The person who chooses maximalism wants to be excited by all of these colors, patterns, and different textures in their space. I feel like extroverts kind of lean towards maximalism and introverts are more the minimalism aesthetic route. I am an extrovert, like a total extrovert. I'm energized by everything that the world has to offer. For minimalists or introverts who just want everything kind of calmed down and quiet, you just want an environment that kind of reflects everything that's going on in your head. If you're someone who loves to have things on display, let's say things that you've collected from your travels or things that you've saved from your childhood growing up. Maybe you have all of this open shelving or a beautiful curio cabinet and you kind of want to display all of your items in these key areas. You could be a maximalist. If you're someone who doesn't collect anything at all, maybe just dust in your house, you might be a minimalist. Which style costs less? You think that you have to have a lot of money to be a maximalist, but on the contrary, like a lot of the items that I have in my home are thrifted or they're secondhand. They might have been passed down to me. I might have rummaged a flea market or a garage sale and grabbed something that just really caught my eye and now I want to display it in my home. There's so many ways to display collectibles in a very cohesive way so that you have a maximalist aesthetic, but it still doesn't feel like super cluttered. For a minimalist, you only have so many items in your home or on display. You could be spending thousands on like a single chair that you fell in love with versus a maximalist who thrifted this secondhand chair for like $5 and loves it. So is there really a difference between how much you're spending based on your design style? Absolutely not. It's just a preference. I feel like minimalist, if you have less furniture in your space, every single piece of furniture has to be like perfect. They need to function exactly as you need to. The aesthetics are kind of like right on point. You love the color, you love the finish, you love the texture, and that is why you have that single piece of furniture in your space. So I feel like minimalism is definitely more thoughtful and intentional, whereas maximalism is just like a love and affinity for so many different things. Which style is more high maintenance? Clearly, maximalism is way more high maintenance. I mean, you have more furniture pieces, you have more decorative items. Can you imagine how much you have to dust the shelves to kind of keep all of these items looking clean and tidy? You know that because I have a smart vacuum that kind of picks up all of the dust, I rarely dust my open shelving. I think if you have open shelving, I mean, who here has open shelving? Yell out to the camera. If you have open shelving, you can totally attest to how practical and functional it is. Not only do I get to display all of my beautiful items, but I have this robot vacuum that's kind of running around vacuuming all of the daily dust and debris, so they never really settle into the air. So for all of you maximalists out there, definitely get yourself a smart robot vacuum. Which of these design styles is more timeless? Well, that's a matter of personal opinion and your own personal aesthetic. Will I ever say that maximalism goes out of style? Absolutely not. I mean, Dorothy Draper during the Hollywood Regency era really kind of put her stamp on maximalist design, as did Tony Duquette, who was all about set design. You're currently seeing a resurgence of maximalist design with grand millennial aesthetic. The millennials kind of picked up on that old world opulence, you know, back in Versailles, back in Marie Antoinette area, that Victorian era, where it was like more and more sumptuous fabrics, colors, patterns, gilding, everything kind of thrown in a room, and it was just like a feast for the eyes. So to me, maximalism will never go out of style. Now, minimalism, I have minimalist clients who have actually turned over to the maximalist route because they have found that after I designed the spaces, they just want to see more of their things. They want to see more of themselves and their hobbies in their space. They're no longer afraid of color or patterns. So they will sprinkle in some maximalist tendencies, maybe a little bit more home decor, so that the space doesn't feel so stark and minimal anymore. But there are also maximalists who turn minimal just as an answer to their moods and overall well-being. Let's say you are a previous hoarder and you know that you've been so bogged down by everything that's happening in your home. There's too much furniture, there's paperwork, there's like things littering your entire space. You can barely walk through it. I know that's very extreme hoarder, but let's say that kind of reflects a little bit of your lifestyle. And now you just want peace, you're tired, you just want to rest. So you start donating these items, you start purging unnecessary things, and you're slowly becoming a minimalist. The simplicity of minimalism is what appeals to a wide audience. You just think the less things you have, the less things you need to worry about. Therefore, you're opening yourself up to more relaxation and more peace. Which style is easier to find? You can literally walk into any type of store and have minimalist and maximalist design aesthetics to choose from. Just think of IKEA. When you think of IKEA, do you think, oh, it's so minimal, I love this type of furniture? Or do you think, holy moly, there's just so much for me to rummage through, like it's just overstimulating, it's like too much. The beauty of IKEA is that there's just so many options out there. You could pick something with really clean lines, not a lot of flourishes, just very straight angles in like one color or one material, and there is your minimalist aesthetic. You could also choose something like this. It has a little bit more fanciful flourishes, it's curved lines, curved features, there's a pattern mix going on, there's color variations. So from one single retailer, you can have both options available to you. Which option lends itself to more creativity or customization? I love a maximalist aesthetic because I feel like I can't go wrong. The common myth behind maximalism is that there's just more stuff, more clutter. That's not true. Maximalists prefer color, bold statements, patterns. We can mix it all together, but it doesn't mean we have more pieces in the space. I could have a maximalist style sectional that has all of these colors and patterns on it, whereas a minimalist can have the exact same sectional with maybe less pillows, less color, less throws. Essentially, they're two of the same exact items. It just depends on our visceral reaction and what appeals to us. Do we like color and pattern, or are we more like muted and subdued? If you're still trying to decide whether you're a minimalist or a maximalist or like a healthy mix of the two, just look to your closet to help you inform your choices. There are many fashion designers out there who design in a very minimal way. You have Issey Miyake, you have Martin Margiela. I mean, back then in the 90s, you had Calvin Klein, right? Just think of Calvin Klein's silhouettes. It was like all white t-shirts, but even that white t-shirt had to be tailored to perfection. That's the thing about minimalism. Because there's not a whole lot of elements in it, I feel like you have to just get it more precise, just right. Whereas for maximalist designers, let's say like Jean-Paul Gaultier, or even Gianni Versace or Betsy Johnson, it's all about a very explosive type of wow statement. There's also a lot of minimal interior designers and architects that I love, like Extrovert, who famously designs a lot of celebrity homes, most recently Kanye and Kim's home. I know they got a lot of flack because it looks like a Buddhist monastery, and for me, I understand that because their life is full of like paparazzi, excitement. There's just so much going on in their public lives that when they come home to their personal space, they just want a very calm environment. So you can have a mix of two. I also love Chango & Co. They are a Brooklyn-based interior design firm that is on AD 100's list. They're known for their really warm and welcoming interiors that is all about a sense of place. Now, if you want to look into more maximalist designs, definitely check out Kelly Wearstler. I mean, she needs no introduction. She is my former boss and my own personal hero. I mean, I look up to her so much. Not only does she have an incredible design firm, but she's also branched off into fashion, furniture, home decor lines. She does a lot of collabs with a lot of heavy hitters in the interior design industry. So it's almost if you like a certain designer or you like their aesthetic, then that's something that you'll want to adopt into your own home. And finally, we'll be ending this video with this or that. I'll be showing you a series of images and I just want your take on it. Like, which would you choose? Let's take a look at these two living rooms. One is very minimal and the other one is to the max. This minimal living room almost looks like a rendering. It's so perfect. To me, the space feels a little cold, kind of devoid of life. I love that there is a huge sectional. It looks soft, it looks comfortable. There is a cushy area rug underfoot, but just notice how all of the wood tones match from the coffee table to the side table. And there's not a whole lot of color in this space, save for this really beautiful landscape cow painting that's sitting right above the fireplace. Let's move on over to this maximalist living room. Now, the same designer designed both these living rooms, Sergio Mercado, who is an incredible interior designer that's on AD's 100 list. I love this space. Like, clearly, there's just so much going on and my eye is just traveling all over. It first lands on what I consider the focal point to be this really beautiful brick wall. The brick wall has this stunning plaster fireplace with this huge ornate mirror above it. Anytime you have a really small, tight space, it's a really good idea to add more mirrors in the space so that you can bounce more light. Not only is it going to reflect the natural daylight, but you're also going to get the reflection from the opposite wall, which features this bold blue Chesterfield velvet sofa and also a really cool hanging art piece above. Now, when you see these two spaces side by side, which do you gravitate towards more? The minimalist living room or the maximalist living room? How about these dining rooms? Which one do you think you favor? Although I am a maximalist, I could really appreciate the simplicity and purity of this Ash Leandro designed dining room. You can see that the finishes are just perfect. And that's the thing about minimal interior design. Since you have less pieces in the space, there's nothing to kind of distract your eyes. You're almost glued in to all of the beautiful finishing. In a space like this, even though they mixed and matched all the chairs, I don't mind it one bit. I actually love that they kept the side chairs with a very slim profile and they anchored the main focal wall with like a really chic custom banquette. Now, as a maximalist, this dining room really checks off all the boxes. You've got loads of color, you have a print mix going on, they mix period styles as well. You can't really define a certain era that this dining room falls in, and I think that's what I love about it. You can always swap out the area rug underfoot or even the upholstery on the chair chairs. You know, that wallpaper that's kind of lining the inset walls. You could choose a different chandelier. For all of you minimalists out there, take a look at this maximalist space. Are there any elements in this dining room that you can adopt for your own minimalist design style? How about these two kitchens? One is a very minimal design. There's not a lot of fanciful flourishes. One just has like a whole lot of look to it because the entire countertop has been styled. Now, I just wanted you to take a look at these two kitchens again, side by side. Imagine removing everything off the countertops of this maximalist type of kitchen. Does this still feel like a maximalist lives here? Or could a minimalist live here as well? Whether you're a minimalist or a maximalist, I'll be sharing some of my favorite home decor and furniture items for you to shop the look below. So here's my take on minimalism versus maximalism. Do you have to choose one or the other? No, of course you don't. We as humans are constantly evolving. What you might like in a previous chapter of your life, you might want to totally do a 180 and like be someone else, do something else. For me, I always knew what I liked growing up. Like clearly I'm an interior designer. I like to see a lot of different styles. I like to be influenced by a lot of different designers as well. I can take and pick and choose something from every single type of designer, every single type of even fashion designer, and kind of adopt that into my own personal philosophy. I'm not someone who is easily stimulated. It takes a whole lot for me to kind of even like look that way, which is why I love a bold statement. It doesn't have to come from me, it can come from other creators, but I just like that. It feels like they know who they are and they're not afraid to scream it from the rooftops. And I love that energy. But if you're someone who kind of steps out the house and you feel like the world is kind of coming down on you, if you want a calming and peaceful environment, you want to kind of walk out of your house and have that same feeling, then you'll definitely want a more minimalist environment that's more toned down and gives you more of like a Zen vibe. Marie Kondo, or Marie Kondo as you probably know her, is a very, very famous minimalist. But now that she has kids, she actually came out in a very recent interview that says minimalism or the magic of tidying up is just not realistic for her lifestyle anymore. She has young kids now. So it's like for you to be very thoughtful and intentional with only keeping the things that matter the most to you, sometimes it's just not realistic. We can have minimalist tendencies in a maximalist type of environment, or we can have maximalist preferences in a very minimal space. The choice is yours, and remember that you can always change your mind. That's it for today's video, everyone. I hope you had as much fun watching today's video as I had making it. If you like this type of content and you want more design trends, please give this video a like and a thumbs up. Comment below and let me know which camp do you fall into, minimalism or maximalism. If you love this type of video, you definitely want to check out my top interior design trends. I'll link it right here. We definitely went into maximalism. I also went into very minimal interiors, so there's going to be a lot of really beautiful inspiration for you on there as well. Share this video with anyone you know who loves to dissect interior design styles as much as we do, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Click that little notification bell to be notified of new videos that we drop on the channel every single Thursday. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'll see you next week.